Welcome everyone, and how are you today? Welcome to the 21st episode of the Be Positive Show, guys. Uh, hi, I see you guys coming. Hope you guys are doing well. Today we have a special guest, guys. A woman, a young entrepreneur who is passionate about many topics out there. Since the day I met her, she was there literally motivating everyone, shouting out all smart stuff, and I was like, whoa, like, damn, I have to meet that person. And now she's here with us on the show. Guys, I welcome you, Delma Iris, guys. Hi, Delma. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, BB, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure.
And funny you mentioned when we met because yeah, we were actually at a hackathon, right? That was the
Yep,
first
yep.
time. So
Startup weekend in Sharjah. A big shout out to Shira, guys. They've been very busy and helping young entrepreneurs and startups throughout this whole quarantine. So a big shout out to them. Also, Delma, how are you doing? How was your whole quarantine life going on?
it was good actually. I had a lot of. I think like most people, quarantining was hard
Mm-hmm.
and very self-reflective. But I think generally it really gave me time to find out what I really like to do and discover new skills, try to build good habits by myself in four walls.
Mm-hmm.
So besides that, pretty I think normal like everyone trying to survive.
That's interesting, and we'll kind of get to what you learned throughout the quarantine a little later. But for now, I wanna kind of ask you the main question that I always ask every speaker here:
Sure.
Who is Delma, and what do you do? What's your interests? Who you are? What do you like doing in life? What is it all about? What is Delma all about?
Well, I would say that Delma, if I would have to describe Delma, if I met Delma one day in the street and somebody asked me, what do you think about this girl? I would say that she lives life very purposefully. So everything that she does for a reason. Ever, since I know her, and really her entire life journey has been in that direction. So whether it has been changing careers or learning a new skill
Mm-hmm.
or moving countries, as I've lived in many places, I think that all of this has been done with a purpose. She's very focused because of this purpose.
Wow.
And yeah, and I think that generally that's Delma in a nutshell. A lot of energy, maybe too much energy sometimes, but yeah.
And that's actually good. I like how you kind of spoke about it in a third person. That was kind of interesting. Really something to look out for. And guys, as usual, the explanation mark guest command will get you her socials. Please go follow her on Instagram. Give her a shout out. Go chat up with her. You have so many things to learn about her. And we only have an hour for today, so we're gonna like get everything out of her. But I'm sure there's much more to her. And obviously, get in touch with her. Trust me, guys, she's a great person. She's always like amazing. She always loves to help people. So yeah, get in touch with her. Her socials are on the chat. And yeah, so Delma, today we're gonna be talking about confidence. And as a person who knows you, I obviously can vouch that you are one hell of a confident person. So were you always like that, or was there a time in your life where you kind of became more confident than and the way you are now?
Yeah, great question. So I think that, confidence works in a spectrum. So essentially what that means is that you're never 100% confident in any moment in time. So when you ask me, was I always confident? No. Am I always confident? No. Can I always be confident? Of course. And I think this comes with like trying new things. So when I was small, it actually took me a really long time to learn how to ride a bicycle.
Mm.
Yeah, so kind of crazy, right? Because I fell and I fell and I fell, and my knees were scraped, and then I would see all the kids, like all the other kids playing with the bicycle, and my confidence, like I remember that I was like my confidence was very low because all these kids knew how to ride it, and I didn't, and so I felt like if I was gonna try and they're gonna see me fall, this obviously like my confidence was gonna go down and my ego and my pride, and I was a child, and I think that like many other lessons in life just comes to show that confidence is not something that you have, and you will always have, but it's something that you constantly have to work on because it comes kind of in combination with growth and like learning new things.
That's an interesting answer, and honestly, kind of makes me wonder. Like, many people have like big events coming up, and like big presentations, maybe big talk shows and stuff. And sometimes, like the experts say, being a little nervous is kind of fine and it's kind of healthy because it makes you feel more responsible, more worried, and kind of gets you in the right place. Do you agree with that, or you kind of feel like any sort of being nervous is kind of bad for you? What's your opinion on that?
So I think it's a little bit of both. There's sometimes when you get so nervous that it becomes debilitating, right? Like you get so nervous that you actually freeze. I think this is of course bad, and the only because you don't perform. And from my experience, the only way to overcome this paralysis is to practice. Practice, practice, practice. Whatever your craft is, whether it's a sport, whether it's a presentation, whether it's an interview, even meeting a new person, going on a date, whatever it is. I mean, like, let's be honest, right? If you're gonna be really nervous and you know that that's who you are and you can't overcome that, practice, and it doesn't have to always be physically, practice scenarios in your head. What would it look like for me to be there and already achieve what I want? So like visualization. And so that would be the positive side, right? Of the like overcoming that negative emotion of like nervousness and transforming it into like a positive emotion that makes you more confident.
Interesting.
And, yeah.
In fact, one person in the chat is saying it's like a skill that you have to keep practicing, and I definitely can't agree less. I can't agree more. Sorry, but yeah, that's actually interesting. And how has it been so far? What was like? What were the times where you were the most confident? Like, give me like a scenario where you've been extremely confident. You've got it right, and then like a scenario where you've been completely the opposite, where like you're completely nervous, stressed out. Is it usually because of like deadlines, work studies? How do you usually kind of gain that confidence? So it's a skill, right? We learned that from you, and it's something you have to keep practicing. But like when obviously a skill is utilized at some point in life, and where can we kind of find that confidence where we can grab it and kind of keep it and start training on that?
Perfect. So humans by nature, right? All of us, we like to feel competent. Like we like to feel like we're good at something, and we are. Like everybody is good at something, right? Like that's true. And so it's a funny thing, right? Because yes, challenge yourself. Yes, learn, grow, do new things. But because it's a skill, in order to get to that level where you feel more confident to try new things and harder things, you have to start small, like really small. And so what that can mean, for example, so you asked for events in my life, and I remember, so I feel very comfortable public speaking, right? This is something that I enjoy, I'm good at. I've done quite a bit throughout my professional career and non-professional careers as well, whether in teams, etc. And it really started really small, right? It started I like speaking to my parents and just telling, just playing around, like orating. So I was just like giving them poems. Or when I was also like in middle school, so I don't know, I was like maybe 13, I did storytelling. And like I competed in storytelling, and so
that's amazing, actually.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and so to me it was a game. It was more of a game. But imagine this was since I was a child. So this particular skill of public speaking, I've been developing for a long time. But whatever skill you have, whatever thing you're good at now, right? And you want to increase your confidence in the future for something else, do what you're good at, do what you're good at, and that will increase your confidence because you're good at it, and you will more likely perform better. And then the next step is to try and do something harder. Right? Whether it be in that same field. So for example, I started off storytelling when I was 13. And then by the time I did my master's degree, I started pitching to investors, to professors, to my classmates. And now as a professional working in sustainability, really the goal is to pitch to a wider audience, right? Whether that be, countries or corporations. or now that everything's virtual, a few days ago I had a webinar where there was quite a few people from around the world, and we were talking about sustainability and the sustainable development goals, and how to integrate business into sustainability, etc. But really, that confidence of being able to log on and know that there's really important people on the other side looking at you, I think really comes from my personal development of that skill.
Definitely, definitely. And again, you kind of mentioned a couple of things that I want to touch on, but like I have this question for you now. So you kind of gained it all by yourself, the confidence and all. How can you reflect that on others? So I could be very confident in a team of like, let's say 5 people, but then 2 or 3 of them wouldn't be as confident as me. How can I effectively share that my confidence, or kind of reflect it on them to a point where they also feel confident? Is it just about sharing my knowledge, kind of calming down, making sure that, okay, things are going to go right? Or is there a specific way where I can like make them extremely feel confident by just being with me, or by believing in themselves as well?
Yes, I think the last part really. And so it's a bit of both. It's, to me, for example, leadership. I believe leadership is to lead by example, right? So when somebody sees you do something well, some people, not all, but some people will approach you and ask you how you do it, right? Those who don't approach you and happen to be shy doesn't mean that they can't do it, or that they will never reach that goal of doing it, but they will more likely not approach you because they're intimidated or shy or whatever the case may be. So I think a lot of it is motivation, right? So for example, I work out quite a bit, almost every day. And in my gym, there's like a boot camp class, right? That's hosted, and so many people go, and I love it because there's so many ranges of athleticism within that class. You have people doing like crazy, like, push-up, burpees, claps, like all these crazy tricks, and then you have people who can't do a proper push-up in the same class. So it's really nice to see that for me. And I think that the best, like from my experience in that class, the best way to encourage someone to come again is not to intimidate them per se, but to try and help them and motivate them. Like, let's say I'm doing a plank side by side with somebody, and let's say I can hold a plank for, let's say, 3 minutes, and somebody can barely hold on for a couple of seconds. I believe it's like my role to encourage that person to keep going more and more and more. And even if they, the goal is not to be like anybody else, but the goal is to improve yourself. And that in itself builds confidence, right? Because you start with 30 seconds, and your next try, you're going to do a minute, and so forth. So then you become confident because you become capable.
I love that. And just to add on, I think it's also about this perspective. And what you kind of talked about is basically changing their perspective of them not being able to do it to, hey, I can do this if I train harder and work better. So I kind of like that, and it's a lovely way of kind of also approaching people and getting to know them, and in some way kind of building them to become better versions of themselves. And that's really lovely. And I think if people start building a society of that, a lot of changes and a lot of like better goodness can happen and stuff. So guys, as usual for the newcomers, thank you all for being here. If you're here from Delma's side, this is the Be Positive Show. This is my channel. I do gaming content on the weekdays, and on the weekends I bring amazing people to talk on my show. If you want to get in touch with Delma, !guest, the command as usual. Please go follow her, get in touch with her, and feel free to ask questions. In fact, Delma, I have a really interesting question for you from the chat, which is gonna so it's asked by a person called Muhammad Sweeti, and he's basically asking about a scenario where someone got embarrassed of a situation that happened to them. How can they overcome that, or how can he fix his let's say reputation after something bad happened to them? And yeah, because obviously when that happens, his confidence level is probably like to the ground. So how do people usually deal with these scenarios or the struggles of like bad rep or bad reputation about them?
Yeah. So this happens a lot, right? Whether in your personal life or professionally. And part of that risk that you take to do something new is, you're more than likely going to fail the first time. This is just, it's like statistics almost, because you don't have that skill set yet. So it's obvious. But this is really interesting question, because he mentioned a word, right, of like embarrassment.
Mm.
And embarrassment is a really internal emotion. Embarrassment doesn't exist outside of you. So what that means is that nobody knows that you're embarrassed. Maybe they could suspect, but that really is something that you felt because you felt like you could have performed better, or you didn't do what you wanted to do, like you had another vision in mind and it didn't turn out the way you wanted. It turned out completely different. And so then you feel you almost, you put yourself down, your confidence reduces. And this is normal, actually. This is very, like, you shouldn't feel bad for feeling embarrassed, actually. It's very normal. It helps us self-reflect. So I think part of, and I've definitely felt embarrassed many times, and part of what I've done to overcome that embarrassment and keep trying is understand my feeling of embarrassment. Like, why was I embarrassed? Was I embarrassed because I didn't practice enough? So then, obviously I didn't know what I was gonna say. Or was I embarrassed because somebody mentioned something in front of a group of people and I wasn't ready for it, and I felt like it was personal. Or really identifying why you were embarrassed or why you had that emotion, I think is key to understanding what to do next, like what to do different next time. Otherwise, you don't know why you felt that, and because you don't know why you felt that, you will not feel capable of fixing it, and you will almost feel like that embarrassment, and it will happen again and again and again, and it may happen again and again and again if you don't know why it happened or why you felt that way. So the moment you can identify, oh, I felt embarrassed because I was underdressed and it was like, it was a formal event and everybody was networking and I was wearing jeans. Like, okay, so maybe next time carry extra clothes with you. You never know. Maybe you have to dress up, maybe you have to dress down, or, so identifying what made you feel that way in that situation, and being able to fix it next time. So much confidence.
I love how you kind of simplify things, and I think that's like a perfect way of explaining things. Like the jeans part was amazing. In fact, I could so relate to these problems. Like I've had several failures in my life where like it's just basic things that I could have done better. Like, oh, I forgot a towel. Maybe next time I go to the beach, I'll bring a towel with me. Or my car didn't have petrol. I should have had a petrol gas. So simple things that people can relate to, and I love that. I think. Definitely coaching or like life coaching would be a thing you should consider in the future. And guys, if you agree with me, press 1 in the chat. I think let's see what they think about that as well. But Delma, I kind of want to dig deeper a little bit into the things you're like passionate about, and obviously you're an enthusiast of a couple of fields out there and topics out there. Knowing you personally, I know that you're into working out and the whole fitness and stuff. In fact, guys, and this is no cap, like no joke, just watching her stories, I know a couple of people. I just showed them, like, look at this kind of workout. She does like insane push-ups, like crazy like tricks and stuff, and just watching her kind of motivates you, like, I want to be better, and I no interaction, nothing, just watching a video of her can literally motivate you. And I'm not even like saying this to compliment her. You go check it out for yourself. I'm not even kidding. And I know you're interested in like environmental stuff, like you really care about Earth, which is something every person should be worrying about. Like I just actually read an article yesterday that apparently in 2010 the Global Health Organization kind of put goals that they had to set up and complete and achieve in 2020, and we very proudly achieved none of them. So we kind of the human population is like very, very proud of this. But yeah, we definitely need to step up our game in caring about the environment, especially that it's literally, guys, it's the Earth we're living in. If we end up destroying that, I mean, good luck trying to live on Mars or something. That would be very challenging, I promise you. But yeah, tell us more about what topics are you interested in and why. Like, you don't have to go deeper, but like, just kind of tell us, I like this topic, I like it because of this, and like, yeah, just share a couple of more information about you, basically.
Yeah. So ever since I was small, I always believed in doing good, and I think as my life developed, this doing good concept, because it's very obviously, I think everybody in their hearts wants to do good, but as I developed in my career or in my life, I really wanted to find how I could do good. Right? There's so many ways to do good. There's not one way to do good, obviously. So really, I was dancing around with medicine and like sciences and all these skills when I was growing up. And really what ended up happening was that I was pulled into sustainability, right? So what that means is just actually, it's almost everything. Sustainability is very holistic to a point where you can focus on the environment, and that could mean land or water, so marine life, or like animals and things like this, or the environment in terms of energy, or uh, in terms of trash, pollution. Like, it's really so wide in terms of the environment. And then there's also like the social part, which is like the people part, right? Human part. So whether that be human rights or equal opportunity or education, or, there's also so many social aspects that go into that in terms of sustainability. So I think what ended up happening was that because I was so passionate in so many things and I just wanted to help, really sustainability as like a main topic ended up being right for me, because I could pick and choose to develop any particular skill or a specific industry. And there's a lot of standards in terms of sustainability. So it just really was a journey for me that fit me, in terms of wanting to help the world. And so with that, I also believe in well-being and health, and really taking care of yourself, for yourself and for others, right? So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of like the analogy where if you're in a plane and the plane is falling down, and then like you put your mask on first, and then you put it to your like the person next to you if they cannot. And so this like rule, this standard actually can be applied throughout your entire life, right? If you can't develop your skills, how can you help somebody? Like, you have nothing to help them with, right? So for example, Doctors Without Borders, first they have to be doctors, and then they can volunteer and help a lot of people. But if you're not a doctor, how can you help people, So I think this concept I really carried out throughout my life, and it has really bled into like health. So I really enjoy working out, and I really enjoy eating well. And so whenever I get approached, about these questions, I'm more than happy to help people, to motivate people, to encourage them, etc. So this is kind of that avenue. And I also, I paint, and recently I've like started modeling as well in terms of developing that craft. So that's also a crazy confidence story, by the way. But yeah, so the arts have always been really interesting to me as well. Whether that be videos or painting, or modeling, the arts and the expression of the body. So even in physical activity, there's a unique expression of the body, right? Whether you're balancing or doing a sport. I recently started Muay Thai as well, so kind of like taking on that new skill, see how it goes, kind of a thing, just to learn more things. And yeah, they're all expressions of the body and crafts. But at the end of the day, they're also for well-being. They're also to be a healthier person.
That's amazing. And wow, I'm getting to know more about you. So you do Muay Thai, you do modeling. Guys, she's the full package. She's good at everything. I'm done. I surrender. Wow. This is actually very, very impressive. And again, it kind of comes from the whole core character in you that I want to improve, I want to become better, and that's amazing. That's like the best sustainable way, and since you love sustainability, of motivating yourself and pushing yourself forward, and I think that's amazing. So kind of getting into your community, how far or how supportive was your community about this? Like, we're talking about your family, your close friends, and maybe the people you hang out every day with, like the coworkers, people you work out with. How supportive were they of your ideas? Were they always there for you, or did they start like supporting you after they've seen more seriousness, showing them more seriousness? How was the community as supportive as it gets?
Yeah, so some very interesting insight for you and your viewers. And I think a lot of people really have this or go through this, but to overcome it, I think it's very difficult. So when I was in university, like my bachelor's degree, I originally studied biomedical sciences. So I wanted to be a doctor, right? And so I did chemistry, OChem, up to OChem, biology, all these sciences. I studied it for about a year and a half. And I had an internship. And within this internship, my role was to survey farmers. So super random, but I was surveying farmers and learning about crops and yield and growing. Yeah, very very different experience. But this experience actually, taking on this experience, made me realize that I didn't want to be in a lab all day, and I didn't want to be surrounded by like personally surrounded by sick people all day. That's what I think personally. So people may like that, but this experience made me realize that I like talking to different kind of people, and I like engaging with people, and I like, like at this case, in this scenario, surveying them and learning new things and like being on the go. This was like what I discovered through this internship. Anyway, so I was confident and I said, I'm going to change career paths. And I told my dad, and my dad said, no. He's like, you're crazy. Like, what are you going to do? So I studied in my bachelor's. I studied international studies with a focus in politics and diplomacy. And when I told that to my dad, he's like, what? Like, what is that? Like, what are you going to do with that? He's like, obviously, if you do the sciences, you go to, it's a clear path, right, for doctors. It's hard, of course, but it's quite clear in the sense that, what courses you need to take, got to take the medical exam, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so that was really hard on me, actually, in terms of my life goals, my vision, my confidence, like everything, it's really hard to hear my father say no and like not believe that I could achieve through this different profession. So in that moment, I really had to almost like build a case, right? I had to build a case for myself and try to convince him, even though, it's my life, but obviously like, the parent relationship, they want the best for you. I had to convince him that I had a plan for my life. And of course, like I don't know, I was like young, like life changes so much. But in this moment, I think that even arguing to him that I knew what I was doing and that I wanted this really bad made like that moment of doing that made me feel more confident about my decision to do it. Because I thought to myself, if I can, debate or, with my dad and try to convince him that I know what I'm doing, then I do know what I'm doing, So it was a very nice moment where I really just changed everything, and I wasn't, I didn't have that support, but I still did it, and here we are.
Interesting. But I want to kind of ask you this: was he more concerned about you doing it, or was it because of the degree or the field itself? Because it seemed like he believes in you of becoming a doctor, but not you becoming the other stuff. He's like, no, I can't, because again, I kind of understand this because my parents had the same experience. Like, I finished school, first thing they're like, doctor or engineer, brother, which one would you like to be? And I'm like, Dad, no, come on. I know what I wanted to be. I want to be in the gaming industry. I want to develop. I'm a tech person. I want to be in that, right? And again, I had to go through 6 months of like convincing them. But in my mind, I had this, and I'm like, whatever they say, I love them, I respect them, my parents are amazing, but I will do what I want to do. Because like, if I let them make this decision for me, I'm going to be miserable my whole entire life, and that will make them miserable as well. And obviously, as I got into this, eventually they agreed to it. They're like, whatever, just go waste your life, we're happy for you. And eventually I kind of turned it out and kind of convinced them that it was the right thing, especially after like I started winning hackathons and stuff, and I showed them like, this could have been me, a miserable civil engineer, or like kill my life doctor, or I could have been this successful young entrepreneur who likes technology and does amazing things with it. And obviously, after seeing that, they're like, actually, we're right. And that kind of reflected on my brothers. So now they're much more flexible with them going to uni and letting them study what they want to study, which I feel like is good, because that kind of also changed perspective. And I'm sure your parents kind of went through that as well after seeing you on what you do. They're like, oh, actually, we're happy she didn't listen to us, and we're happy that our daughter did whatever she had to do. And I'm sure your parents went through that journey as well.
Yeah, so you bring up a great point that, I think life is uncertain, right? We don't know what's going to happen
Mm-hmm.
this afternoon, tomorrow, etc. And having a title like, or trying to pursue a title like a doctor, being a lawyer, being labeled a lawyer, a civil engineer, or anything really, any title that you want to pursue, there's it's almost like this, like it's been done before,
Mm,
right? It's been done before. So yes, maybe your journey may not be exactly the same as somebody else, but you know what you have to do to get there. And
100%.
that builds security in people, right? You feel comfortable because you know more or less what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so for my parents, and I mean a lot of people, even personally, like people feel this, right? Like having something to look forward to and that it's been done and you're just trying to replicate it, this is easier and it's safer and it feels nice.
Definitely.
You increase your confidence. So your confidence, excuse me. So if you have a goal and you know somebody else who's done it, copying that person builds your confidence
True.
because you already know what you need to do.
100%.
But if you don't have a clear vision, you don't have a clear, path of what you're gonna do, how you're gonna do it, but you just have a dream, this is where confidence is low. So my parents, I had this dream and my parents were like, what is this? Like I don't know, like it's not clear. It wasn't as clear to them as they wanted it to be, right? For someone who they care about. So this, they maybe it's not that they weren't confident that I could do it, but they weren't confident about the journey that I would
True.
have to take to do it. And so that makes people scared, and because it makes people scared, they're less likely to do these things. So yeah.
100%. I literally, you kind of nailed the exact words that I was thinking of. And talking about clear vision, Delma, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? So, like, obviously, what you're doing now is amazing, but where do you see yourself setting plans in the next 3 to 5 years?
I mean, I think in terms of my life purpose, so going back to, I think, the very beginning, right? I'm a very purposeful person. So whatever 3 years, 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, it will always be aligned with my purpose. And so my purpose is essentially to help, right? So I know that there's so many ways of helping the world, whether that be through creating an awareness program about, hey, this is what you should recycle, this is what you shouldn't recycle, whether it be creating, helping students develop their careers, or helping individuals develop their careers, or helping people find what they're passionate about, or helping people get, more healthy and more fit in their life. So I think really there's so much to do in the world, that I think if you like asking me where do you see yourself in 3 to 10 years, I would say in the exact same mentality, maybe not in the exact same place, of course, but in the exact same mentality of helping people, and helping the world, whether that be through my sustainability knowledge and skill set, or whether that be in other skill sets that I'm currently developing in order to do that.
Muay Thai trainer coming in, guys. In the next 2 years, she's gonna be focusing her way through. But that's actually interesting, and I like that you kind of thought about it mentally more than physically. So I ask this question to my speakers all the time, and many of them would go like, build a company, blah blah. Give me all that physical aspects of the world. But I like how you kind of gave me a different answer. You kind of told me I'm gonna be in the same mentality. And again, really nice, really great, and the way you phrase things, I find it really interesting because. When you phrase things in a positive manner, it does build confidence, and I think so again leads to a next question. Do you? I know many people recommend this, but like I've never done it personally. But like, do you kind of write journals, or do you speak to yourself, or kind of reflect on things where? Like, hey, I did this thing today. Okay, she's getting it out. I can see the yes coming up. And do you like reflect on things you've done through the day, things you've kind of done the better? And since we have the viewers here, what do you recommend people to do? So, like, what's the best practice that you've done, or like something that has been statistically proven, or some like techniques people use to kind of build their confidence through time, and not just confidence, but like build a better, healthier and healthier, I mean mentally healthier as well, life for them to be able to reflect better on their mistakes and improve as a being.
Perfect. I love that mental health piece. You are your best teacher. Like if I could tell somebody, like anybody, this the one piece of advice that you take from this entire conversation is that you are your best teacher. And like so that comes with the self-awareness, self-reflection. So hey, maybe some people are like, oh, I don't want to journal, that's too old school for me, or I don't like to write. Doesn't matter, don't do it. You don't like to do it, you're not going to do it, don't do it. But there's so many other ways to self-reflect, right? So nowadays everybody's on their phone, so if you're recording your entire life, that's essentially your virtual journal. So go back, look at it, look at your virtual footprint. Why? Because it will make you remember memories and events of your life, and you'll understand where you were back then. This is why, by the way, like Facebook and Instagram and all these like what are they called, like archives, throwbacks, or whatever, where the program reminds you of what you did a year ago, 2 years ago.
True.
This is why they're so effective, because we actually do like looking at our past, and we do like looking how far we've come since then, and it's a big success in terms of technology, but it's success because it's psychological, because as a matter of fact, humans like this. Humans need this. They need a path, they need a past and they need a path forward. So really my encouragement is in this sense, in terms of having a healthy mental state, being able to develop it even more, and nurturing that positivity and that growth for the future is even if you don't know where you want to be in the next year, 2 years, etc. Because there's a lot of people who have no idea, and sometimes feel intimidated that they don't have an idea, and it seems like the whole world knows what they want to do. And so I think really being able to realize, oh wow, I've done this, I've done that, like all the things that you've done in your past, and try and like connect those dots towards the future, and why you're doing what you're gonna do next is really helpful. I think it was like Steve Jobs who said, your life doesn't make any sense when you look at it looking forward, like, oh, why am I doing this? But when you look back, all the dots just happen to connect. True. They connect because it's your life, and at the end of the day, they will all shape who you are.
I love this. And again, I heard several techniques about this, like where people, and by the way, this kind of leads to my next question, but like, so people, what they do is at the beginning of the year, they kind of write their goals for the end of the year, and they go like, okay, well, I gotta achieve this and this and that. So my whole career or my whole life this year would kind of reflect on these 3 points, and I like, and this is how they build it. So like they can see the end goal and they start working at the backwards, and I think that can be very powerful. But that kind of leads again to my next question, which is, do you believe in so a lot of people, what they do is they set goals at specific dates, like beginning of the year I'll do it, or like it's almost July, so half the year I'll be good, or like beginning of next month I'm gonna start, or on Sunday I'm gonna start my workout, and then they fail that Sunday, and like it's already Monday, and they go like, well, khalas, I'll just wait for the next Sunday instead of the next Monday. And a lot of people do that, like, oh, I'm gonna study in 1 hour, it's already like 10:01, so they're like, oh, khalas, shit, I missed the whole 1 minute, so like I gotta delay it to the next hour. Are you like, obviously this is very bad, we kind of agree to that, but like, are you a firm believer of like putting deadlines, set lines and stuff, or do you feel like start now is the way to go, and like if you don't start now, you're just making excuses? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I think everyone's different, and everybody will find a different skill for, a different way of doing it based on their life and their habits. But absolutely, I believe if you don't plan, you're planning to fail. But that doesn't always mean that the plan's going to work, by the way. And usually it doesn't work. Like
100%.
Yeah. But it is good to plan. Why? Why is it good to plan? Planning is good, even if it is not, like I said, you don't have to write it. You don't have to, but just even like, you can write it, and it may be more effective to write it because you've committed to something. But sometimes it's just a piece of paper that you disappear and you never see it again. But it's good to plan, because what's happening when you're planning is that you're mapping a journey in your mind of how things could be. or how you want them to be. So you're visualizing your goal. You're putting pen to paper, you're like manifesting it by planning it. So if you have a huge idea, yeah, and you're like, oh, this idea is amazing, but you go through zero plan of how you would potentially do it, it will probably not happen as smoothly or as quickly or as effectively as you want it to. Why? Because you don't really know what the next step is. And even though the next step can be totally different, in your mind, you've already built that confidence actually through this planning, because you already think you know how the plan should go.
Fair
So
enough.
you're almost like tricking yourself, but in a good way. You're tricking yourself in a way to encourage yourself, because there's so much uncertainty. It's so unclear that you need to plan in order for you to be less afraid and then take action. So this is where the action comes in, right?
100%. And again, I like the words you use, confidence and fear. So the more confidence you have, the less fear you go. And obviously with less fear, less chance of failure. You're going to be a little more clear about your vision, and definitely more focused. And yeah, I definitely agree. And Delma, your personality is definitely like me. You're all over the place. You cannot stick to one topic. You're always like, I like this and like this and I like that and like that, like very much like me. But again, a lot of people kind of always say focus on one thing and let that be your thing. I like. I like to call myself a jack of all trades, and I'm kind of happy that way. Again, people deal with things differently. I'm happy to be not the best at one thing, but like good at a lot of things. So, what's your opinion on that? Do you kind of agree with the whole be focused part, or do you also like to be a jack of all trades as well?
Mm-hmm. So I think you're right. It becomes like very personal thing. And I'll compare this to an organization, okay, like a company or something like that. There's departments, right? And each department has a specialty, right? And each specialty executes a role. And this is the way we understand the world, actually. But the higher up you go within the company, so whether you started as an associate, and then you go into maybe like a manager position, and then you're a senior manager, and then you're like the head of the department, and then maybe you become, I don't know, like a C level, like you're the CEO or the CPO, etc. The higher you go in the organization, the more things you have to know about it, right? And you have to know about it in terms of all departments. So the CEO of any large or small organization knows about everything. Knows about marketing, knows about their engineering team, they knows about their technology. They're not an expert, but they know. So in my mind, the way I see my life and the way I've developed it is my goal is to, yes, of course, focus a bit more on a specific skill. So for example, with you, it's been, technology and gaming, etc. Yes, focus on a specific skill more, like dedicate to it more time, but, also be able to connect, be able to connect all these different disciplines into a proper message or into a proper, a proper way of management or whatever the case may be. And there's no right or wrong answer, by the way. My brother's actually a computer engineer, and he loves computers, and he's like super focused, and I'll talk to him about other things, and he's like, no, he goes back to his mindset, and that's fine. That's fine. You need people actually like this. These people have so much value. Why? Because they're experts at what they do. True. And I would, like you said, like maybe I will never be that one person that is like that, but these people are also necessary. So I think it becomes, where do you want to be? Do you want to be able to add a lot of value in one specific field or one specific subject? So like people who get PhDs, right? They're very, very focused on one thing. Or would you rather be, expansive and be able to do many things, and not be fully committed to one, but all those skills that you have, they will serve a purpose. Like you will add value in some way or some form because you're so multifaceted. So it's one of these things.
Again, lovely example. Like, I couldn't phrase it better. I love the way you kind of compared the higher levels knowing a lot but less of the thing itself, but then the experts knowing a lot but like only in that specific. Again, even in the chat, they're like all saying well said, good job, and I love the example. Like even these guys. Again, guys, I know you're all loving her. I know you wanna kind of learn much more. I mean, I could just sit all day and talk to her, but like again, we're kind of getting to a close of our show today. But again, exclamation mark guest is the command you wanna write. Get her socials. Do get in touch with her, and I'm sure like obviously now it's a little harder with the whole quarantine, but definitely she would love to have sit and have coffee with you. Don't be creeps, boys. Don't be creeps. So be nice, but like she'd definitely love to chat up with you, have some coffee, and she's an adorable person. She's like the nicest person you can ever meet. And yeah, if you are here from Delma's side, thank you all for being here. I hope you're enjoying the show. Feel free to check out my channel and follow me. That would be really supportive. And you are always welcome to come and watch me. But yeah, Delma. Oh, by the way, guys, as well. So feel free to ask any questions. Usually I take a couple of questions from the chat at the very end. So this is the time where you guys can ask anything you've been wondering throughout the whole episode. But yeah, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And yeah, they're all like sending you love messages. They're appreciating your words. They're loving what you're saying, and so am I, honestly. But yeah, I like the words that you mentioned, dedication. So that was one word that kind of clicked for me. Being dedicated to one thing, but also having knowledge and having like let's say interest in other topics is very well. And finding that synergy to connect all those topics together would be a very powerful impact to the world, to you, and to the community around you. And I think that like you kind of phrased it perfectly for anyone. I mean, guys, we're definitely waiting for this girl to start her own show. Maybe start like this public speaking. Definitely, I know. Like honestly speaking, I definitely see you in the next, in the very near future. Like definitely public speaking. Maybe a TED talk for you. But yeah, definitely motivating the world and being able to push people further to better themselves. And I think. Me personally, I believe in investing in people more than investing in money or assets and stuff. People are what everyone should be investing in, to be honest, because they kind of hold everything else. If you invest in a rich man, you get his money. If you invest in a guy who has like the skill, you get his skill. And definitely, people is the thing you should be aiming to invest in. So Delma, I'm personally ending with this question before we take the questions from the audiences, but. If you had to kind of advise one thing to, especially about confidence, yeah? If you had to advise one thing now, like towards the end, what would you advise the people watching you and the people watching you later on YouTube to do to kind of gain the absolute confidence? I know you kind of touched on that several times before, but like, if I'm completely out of like confidence, I have no confidence in me whatsoever, what would you kind of tell me, go do this right now to gain as much confidence as you can?
So it's gonna sound really silly, and I'm sure maybe you've heard about it before. Here goes. So this, like expanding your arms, just being big. So our mind and body connection is really powerful. Like it should not be undervalued. If you walk into a room and let's say you're about to present or you want to talk to a guy or a girl or whatever, and your head is down and you're kind of already you physically, you may not even feel intimidated yet or scared yet or not confident, but physically you've already defeated yourself and you don't even think about it. It's like really subconscious, right? So if I was talking to you in this video and I was like this, like yeah, like this, who would want to listen to that, So I've already physically defeated myself, even without saying anything. You don't even have to say anything, just how you physically show up. So I think being a little bit more mindful of your body and like how you show up in places, and not what you're wearing, okay, not what you're wearing, and it could help what you're wearing also, but also like your movement, right? So if after this call, or excuse me, after this video, you get up and you open your arms really big, try for like 1 minute, and it may feel really weird because it's a whole minute and you're just standing there with your arms open, But yeah, exactly. If you're expansive, yeah, this physical movement makes you feel confident. I know it sounds strange. Try it out, but it does. It makes you feel confident because you're expanding yourself. You're opening up. You're being big. You're being bigger mentally. So I think these little things can really help somebody who, let's say you have like you think you have zero confidence, which in fact I think everybody has some confidence. But if you believe you have zero, I would say this is where to start. Try practicing this.
All right, guys, you just got an exclusive hack to the confidence. If you hear it, don't share it with anyone. Like next time she shares this, she has to start charging people. I definitely think these hacks are very exclusive, and it's amazing that there are people out there who are willing to share their knowledge. And guys, again, feel free to always reach out to anyone. I'm sure your friends are very supportive. Confidence, again, is something in you, and so is embarrassment. Try to reduce embarrassment as much as possible. There's nothing to feel embarrassed about. Things do happen. Failures are like literally. If you can find me someone who's successful and never failed, I'll give you whatever you want. It's impossible, and people failed. People got embarrassed before, and it's just a phase, passes through, and yeah, you get your life back. In fact, if you fail and then end up succeeding, you're more likely to be much more successful than what you've done without failing. And that's something to look up forward. So like once you fail, to kind of turn it into something to motivate you to become better. And yeah, I definitely hope Delma agrees with that. So I got a private question. Someone was kind of a little shy to ask it on the chat, but like he basically asked if I'm more successful with like girls like me more and stuff. But I think let's kind of generalize it and say, do people kind of look up to the successful people more, or it's just like whatever they built person with the person? Like, because I sometimes feel like my friend who's not like billionaire or whatever the standard success means, but I could look up to them, and like things they do could be very like motivating to me or could impact my life drastically. So do you agree that people look forward or look up to the successful people, or like I said, the rich, famous people, or it's just a myth that the social media and the media kind of builds up for us?
So I think it's a good question. It has many facets, right, to it. So you've mentioned it quite a bit in terms of these little things. So success is perceived, right? So what does that mean? That means that success is a perception of achievement. So if you look at somebody who's achieved many things, you will say that person is successful, right? Because they've achieved what they wanted to achieve. But not all forms of success are as clear as you think, right? So if you see someone driving, let's say, I don't know, Mercedes or whatever, like a fancy car, and your mind thinks that person is successful, you don't know that. Just because they're driving a luxurious car doesn't mean that person is successful. Especially today, like there's so many ways to get things and like material things that don't necessarily mean that you've achieved everything you wanted to achieve. So that's one part of that question that I would advise, like to be a bit more vigilant about, like look deeper into what success is. And if you want to perceive success, if you want to just show that you're successful, but really you're like, if you would like put down all your goals, like, if you really haven't achieved any of them, it just looks like you have. This is very different. But once, I think, in terms of confidence, actually, if you are achieving your goals, you haven't achieved them yet, but you're achieving them. This is like, if you're on the road to achieve them, this is in a way success, right? Because you are constantly improving towards that goal. Maybe you haven't accomplished it yet, which is fine, but you're on the road to that goal. And being on the road to that goal is confidence, right? So whether it's in relationships, whether it's like, intimate relationships, or whether it's in business or professional life, it's almost this like fake it till you make it attitude, right? If you show up like you deserve it, or you deserve her or him or whatever, then you will. Why? Because this is our perceived success. You look at someone, you're like, oh wow, they look really confident. and they look, or they look like they know what they're doing, so I'm gonna trust them. And they may not know what they're doing, but they just act like they know what they're doing. So you
100%.
believe them. You believe them, and then you believe that they're successful because they believe that they're successful. And then it's like a wheel of fortune. So I think just be aware that what you want to attract is how you portray yourself. So be this person.
That was a perfect ending for today. And again, Mr. Anonymous, I think that your main goal should be being successful for you, not for the girls to like you, right? And it doesn't matter if if like 100 girls like you or one girl likes you. At the end of the day, you want to be successful for you, to be happy about yourself, right? So I hope that answers kind of your questions. And yeah, Delma, thank you so much for today. It's a pleasure to have you. Like, again, you can go to Twitch and go check out the chat and all that. They're literally spamming hearts to you right now, and they're saying thank you so much for the content, Delma, BB, and yeah, like if I start reading, I'll take till tomorrow. They're literally loving you. Thank you so much for the content. But yeah, they're literally amazed and very. One of them said, "I feel much more confident by watching this show than just," which is amazing. Like, again, this is why I do these things. I'm really happy that you guys are feeling better and happy, and obviously Delma is very delighted to be able to share all these things. And again, Delma, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you for giving us like an hour of your time. It was amazing hearing all that stuff, and I personally learned so many things, and it kind of changed a little bit of my perspective on looking on things, especially the way you do. And that's really amazing. Do you want to kind of like bless us with some last words before we end today?
So thank you, BB, for having me as well. It's wonderful. It's a pleasure to have met you, and congratulations on your show. I wish it very successful. I think you're doing a great thing, actually, for the world, for your community, etc. It's nice to spread positivity and knowledge. So congratulations, and definitely follow him. He has a lot of other content I've already seen. Very good. I think in general, my like last words would be for you also not to get too attached to the word confidence, and what it means and what it doesn't mean, and just be authentic. I think the authenticity of improving and wanting to improve is a really big part of it. So combine authenticity with your journey.
Just when we thought everything was over, she hits us with another like amazing quote right there. That is amazing. I kind of love that. Yes, guys, kind of focusing too much on just being confident kind of also will stress you out. So definitely just be you. Don't be embarrassed of who you are. The people will love you for who you are, and I promise you there's nothing wrong with you. And take care. Love you all. Thank you, Delma. Thank you, everyone. Make sure you guys are following. I'll put the links again, and I'll see you guys next week for the show or tomorrow for the gaming content. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. As usual, we'll be rating a friend of mine. Go say hi, show him the love, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.